So, hi guys, we finally sat Alagan down to answer all of his Ask Me Anything questions. So, we received a lot of questions. So, we tried our best to answer everything as much as possible in a very quick amount of time. So, alright, let's hear from Alagan. So, Alagan, the first question. What's next for Root Code after Root Code AI and Root Code Studio?
So right now we are really focused on Root Code Labs, Root Code AI and Root Code Studio, that is engineering, AI and design. And we want to keep it that way for the next few years, and we want to keep that laser focus into engineering, design and AI, because it helps us deliver great products end to end, like start from the design phase, do the engineering and also bring in some AI and machine learning. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the next few years and no distractions.
Where do you print those nice t-shirts and hoodies?
We have many suppliers. We print most of the kind of tropical clothing like the t-shirts and stuff in Sri Lanka, and then we also print more winter clothing for the European and American market, mostly in Sweden. Yeah, hit me up if you need direct recommendations. I can send you some names.
What are your company values?
We have three simple values: excellence, collaboration, and integrity. Let me tell you a bit more about why they exist. Excellence, very obvious. If you don't do it to the best, you won't exist in the market. When we build a solution, we have to compete with like giants from the Silicon Valley and the rest of the world. So we have to always be excellent in what we do, and that's part of our DNA. Collaboration, because building anything great has and comes with a lot of complexity, multiple layers, which also has to be taken care of, like different people with different expertise. So building an environment that creates seamless collaboration in between different stakeholders and different teams is essential for us to build anything that's ready for greatness. So collaboration is mandatory. Integrity. You can be the smartest person in the room. If you don't have integrity, it's really hard to get too far. And to build an organization like Root Code, which really values high trust environment, you need to have integrity. That means people should be able to trust that you say what you mean, and then people can rely on you, and that has enabled us to create a really high trust environment which is productive and happy at the same time. So all three values are a big part of our DNA: excellence, collaboration and integrity.
How was it like to build a tech company from scratch?
It was not so fun, to be honest. It is fun now, but not so much back then. I started the company that ended up becoming Root Code when I was finally a college student, like 8 years back, and we were really focused originally on building an app, and then later turned it into a software product engineering firm like what we are now. The process of getting here was so difficult for multiple reasons, because one thing is I learned a lot about business and entrepreneurship while building the firm. So I think most of the learning came from making a lot of mistakes, but it was really fun. I mean, the first office was actually a small house behind BMICH, and we just had a house, and I would work there, and I would sleep on the floor and then get up and have a shower and then get back again. And then it took us 5 years to go from like 1% to like 20 people, and then it took us like less than 3 years to go from 20 to 100. So I think all the hard work and perseverance that we showed in the early stages are paying off now, and that's what sets us up for this success that we are experiencing lately. And so building a tech firm from scratch was not at all fun, but it was a hugely rewarding process for me that has grown me also so much. This experience has made me who I am. So it wasn't fun but great.
So, how do brand new tech startups approach new clients or new projects? What's your advice and the point of view on this?
Right. Number one, try to have good case studies or portfolios, right? Number two, figure out from your potential customers' point of view why they need you. Figure out the kind of value that you're adding to customers and their business, and train yourself to be able to communicate that value properly so that you can sell, right? And number three, you can't sell while sitting in your office room. You need to be out wherever your market, wherever your customers are. Be on the road, go knock doors, go talk to people. And number four is be ready to kind of play the long game, because a lot of conversions, especially B2B, doesn't happen in short term. So you need to build a reputation, you need to build networks, and sometimes things take years to convert. So be patient. And number four, build a brand identity that aligns with your long-term vision of your companies, and have a greater online presence that justifies and demonstrates your capabilities, your culture, and your experience, and all of them together, you can gradually start, going after customers in whatever industry that you want.
Very interesting question. How old are you?
I'm 31 this year. Why? Why is it surprising? I look older than I am, so probably, that might be the reason.
How do you manage the time?
It's becoming increasingly challenging with the scale up, but I have a very, I actively use Google Calendar, and then I have like clearly slots defined, and even for the stuff that I need to sit down and focus and get things done, I would always block it so my calendar looks really messy, but the work gets done pretty much. So know your time, know how much time you have for the day, and break it down into clear defined boxes, and make sure that it's really hard, but try your best to make the boxes not tangle too much, so that then you would have a great compartmentalization between multiple things. And that happens to me a lot because I oversee a lot of different divisions, and I have to compartmentalize my time.
Alagan, a very philosophical question. What's your approach to living your life?
What worked for me, and what works for me still, is that I looked deeper into what gives meaning to my life, and then I've figured out or at least I think I've figured out the ikigai of life, where you find the sweet spot of multiple things that makes you that gives meaning to your life, and also understanding deeply that we did not bring anything into this world, and we are not going to take anything when we go, kind of humbles me down, so that we all got this life, and then try to do your best and be resourceful, and build things that you want, and do things that you like, and just keep moving. So that realization has made me go after what I really want.
We have a good one, Alagan. What's the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you?
A lot. Oh, recently, this is so funny. Um, um, this was actually last week. We were, me and some of the team members from the Root Code Foundation team, we were out to do some, to see some of the schools that are on the final lists. And it was quite a bit of a journey, so we were playing songs on the way. And these young girls were playing like a very young, like a teeny song. And then I was like, visibly upset and like a little pissed like an old man, like these are like too young songs, I don't want to listen to this. They played anyway, they won. The funny thing is, after 2 days they actually found me jamming to that song.
What's the song, Alagan?
It's that Gucci, yeah, that one. And they found me. They, in my defense, they actively worked hard to put that thought into my head, and then they won. So now I like that song for some weird reason. Not proud of it, but I like.
How many members were with you when you were first starting the company?
It was just me for many months, sitting alone in that house, imagining it's an office.
So someone has asked, I want to be an entrepreneur just like you. What's the first step that I should actually take?
Find what problem you're solving, so that you can understand what kind of company that you're building. And as long as you have a clear idea, then just it's a matter of starting, because you can't really learn entrepreneurship without really starting a business, because most of the learning comes on the job. Good to do it when you have nothing to lose, but starting is the first and primary step towards it.
How did you balance a bunch of things as an undergrad? Any tips that you'd like to give?
The funny thing is, so I started the business when I started my fourth year, final year. And during that fourth year, I was working during the daytime till about 9 o'clock, and then I would do the study related work from 9 to like 2 o'clock in the night, and then sleep for a few hours. But the funny thing is, my scores were much higher in the fourth year than ever before. And I think that is something to attribute to the fact that I realized I have very less time, so that I started optimizing the way I learned. I started figuring out how to learn in a more effective way. So I think figuring out how to do things effectively in shorter amount of time would really help, and that's what has helped me juggle more things, and also of course keeping your mind and body really healthy, so that you have a lot of energy to deal with a lot of diverse tasks.
So Alagan, imagine you have a superpower to change back time. Is there anything that you would change?
No, actually. I mean, there were a lot of sad stuff that happened. There were a lot of disturbing stuff that happened. But I don't want to change anything, because that's the collection of all the things that I experienced, good and bad, is what made me who I am. So I won't be who I am if I go to change things back again. So no, won't change anything.
How to build a startup when you don't have enough investments?
It depends whether do you really need money, because some businesses are capital intensive. You really need money to lift off the ground, whereas most of the businesses can be bootstrapped. You might not get to the scale you want at the time frame you wanted, but if you, in long term, you should be able to get there. Root Code doesn't have any investors. We bootstrapped, in the sense we made revenue, reinvested, smaller revenue, smaller investment, back in again, until all the drops became what it is today. So Definitely it is possible, but at the same time, depends on how capital intensive your business is.
Which technology would be booming in the upcoming years?
In a broader sense, it's definitely hard to say, but in a broader sense, more mobile driven, more AI driven technologies would grow, because we already started seeing the kind of power some of the AI tools have. Like, for example, GPT. If you look at it, the Chat GPT can actually write better than me about the things that I know in some context. Because if you compare my brain with what Chat GPT knows, it has gone through millions more documents and text than I have. So it definitely has that advantage of knowing, more information. Whereas human brain is more advanced in understanding context. So that can be a different topic to discuss. But I really think the real use of AI and where AI can really complement human brain and the skill set that we have would pick up a lot, along with the mobile driven developments that we see in the traditional software business.
How hard is it being honest all the time?
Not at all. I mean, it's actually easy to be honest all the time, as long as you are not breaking somebody at a bad time.
There's a question. Why most of the Sri Lankan product companies struggle to reach the global market? What's your view on this?
There are some successful product businesses out of Sri Lanka that are really, doing well in the rest of the world. But the ones that are struggling, in my opinion, I think they lack the understanding of what really their target market wants. One, or they focus on the wrong market. And one of the things that I learned by being outside in the world, going to different countries, is that I understood how the market works in different places, how the consumer behavior is in different places, and I think that sort of understanding would really help product companies to plan and do things and launch products that would really work in the market. So I think some of the companies they lack that international understanding, and I think that's probably the main pitfall.
What do you do for fun other than work?
I'm a very boring person other than work. But when I get time, I like to go to mountains specifically. I like walking around, I like hiking. I also like exploring different cultures. So every time I go to a new country, those days they were specifically for backpacking, but now it's more of business. But I always try to take a few days and go into like remote areas and understand like the real culture and the history of different countries. So
how many countries have you traveled to?
I think 42, 43 now. Yeah.
Okay. So we've received around 23 internship related questions. So just to get started off, there's one saying, what are few of the requirements that we expect from interns?
One is it is highly competitive, because I think last week we posted about internship, and within a week we have received about 1,600 CVs. So you can kind of understand the scale of how competitive it could be. But what we look for generally is if you're applying for a software engineering internship, we look for people who have started learning on their own and started doing. I mean, you don't have to be an expert in it, but you should have started, because if you really love something, you would have done it by yourself, right? So we look for that, and also we look for really ambitious people who have done some interesting things. Many of the interns we see have done like you're competing with people who have done open source contributions, who have done like Google Summer of Code, to people who have great portfolios online. So you gotta be on that, do as much as you can to stand out and to show your passion towards what you are doing.
Will you hire employees if they don't have a degree?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We have many great examples of even senior engineers who don't have a degree. So degree is not a direct measure of your knowledge or your skills. So yeah.
So this is a bit of a long question, Alagan, so bear with me. So we have a person who has 3+ years of experience in programming, but she really wants to switch into artificial intelligence, and she wants to sort of start from scratch. But how can she make sure that she gets a chance to start anew? And despite her education background and experience, what's your advice for her?
Right. I guess the worry here is kind of being overqualified to start scratch, and the recruiters might just ignore your CV because you don't seem to be the right person. You're overqualified, right? For scenarios like this, only we have a special text field in our application process where we ask, why do you want to join Root Code? And that gives you a chance to explain your special case to us. And we look at that first, and anything interesting, anything that is extraordinary there, we give a lot of value to that. So, if you forget about your experience, if you want to do something new and if you want to start something fresh, go after it. And in the case of Root Code, make sure you leave a note when you're applying about the scenario, so that we won't just ignore you for being overqualified.
What's the most important quality - skill a founder should have?
I think perseverance, because building anything big is not easy. It's not fast, and a lot of people give up in the middle when it's too painful. And being able to persevere in the middle of difficulties is, I think, one of the primary things a founder needs to have, apart from all the other general things like financial discipline, to being able to understand people, to be good at what they do. Perseverance, number one.